Okay, and are you Mark or Mike?
I'm Mark Silverstein. I'm the legal director of the ACLU Colorado.
Okay, and so you're pulling with Darren and Mike? Okay.
So I'm here to address two recent reports that I think raise some questions for Boulder law enforcement. The first is the review conducted by the firm Hilliard Hines. That firm was hired because of a very disturbing USA Today report that said that Boulder was arresting African Americans at 5 times the rate that whites were being arrested. While I question some of how the report dealt with the statistics, it did say that there was, in the area where police have discretion for traffic citations and misdemeanors, African Americans are arrested at rates twice that of whites. And it was a statistic that begs for exploration and investigation. The firm made some recommendations about collecting better statistics about the demographics of people who are stopped by police. And at the ACLU, we support adopting those and implementing those recommendations. I was a little disturbed to see in the staff response that with each of the recommendations about keeping track of the race and ethnicity of people stopped by police, the staff said that ascertaining or asking about race and ethnicity is a sensitive issue. Well, glaring racial disparities in law enforcement are also a sensitive issue, and progressive police departments can figure out a way to do this and gather the necessary data. The other report I want to mention was compiled by the Denver University School of Law. And it's a report about the criminalization of homelessness. And I think something that ought to embarrass Boulder, which ought to be a leader in civil liberties, is the finding that Boulder is one of the most enthusiastic pursuers of criminal penalties for people who are experiencing homelessness. And in particular, it's Boulder's camping ban that has been the source of much controversy over the years. I think the report said there were 1,700 citations in the last few years, ticketing and prosecuting people for sleeping outside. And Boulder's ordinance forbids sleeping with shelter. And the definition of shelter, as used by the police, is so stretched that you get absurdities like police ticketing someone for putting a blanket over them, police ticketing someone for resting a head on a backpack. And in a case that the ACLU litigated a few years ago, we had a man who tried to go to a shelter. It was full. He got a sleeping bag. The weather got down to 11 degrees that night. He had frost on his sleeping bag when he was awakened in the morning by a police officer ticketing him because the sleeping bag constituted shelter under the ordinance and made him a criminal. The Colorado Supreme Court chose not to hear that case, but I can tell you that the law has been changing nationally on this very issue, and the next time the Colorado Supreme Court has a chance to hear that issue, I believe it's going to say that Boulder violates the Constitution when it prosecutes people for sleeping when there's nowhere to go and there are no shelters. Repeal that camping ordinance. On the Hilliard Hines report, a number of the recommendations are about improving the, I forget the name of the group, mostly appointed by police officers. You should get independent civilian review.
Thank you. Yeah.